think it's going to be necessary to do the second wave. We were planning on a second wave, but the first wave was so powerful and so good and so strong.
We are learning more about the operation to capture Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Consider this, it reportedly involved months-long spy missions, drones, and even blowtorches.
We are greatly worried by the violence, the barbarity, the criminal action which has been brought against our sovereignty.
Venezuelan generals are in a complete panic after Nicolas Maduro was taken in a U.S. decapitation strike that ended a 25-year dictatorship. But what's shaking Caracas even more is how easily it happened. America didn't fight its way through Venezuela's defenses. It went straight through them. And that points to something far more dangerous than a military defeat. Someone on the inside opened the door. Venezuelan generals are now scrambling because someone from Maduro's own team sold him out to the CIA. But the question is, who?
30 million barrels. You hear that, Peter? Of oil was given to us by Venezuela. That's a lot of oil. It's about $4 billion worth.
At exactly 2:01 a.m. on January 3rd, American helicopters descended on Caracas. Delta Force operatives stormed Maduro's compound inside Fort Tiuna, one of Venezuela's most heavily guarded military installations.
Nicolas Maduro got to meet some great Americans for a night vision goggles 3 nights ago. He didn't know they were coming until 3 minutes before they arrived. In fact, his wife said, I think I hear aircraft outside.
Maduro and his wife tried to reach a steel safe room. They didn't make it. The operation took less than 30 minutes. By 4:29 a.m., Maduro was aboard the USS Iwo Jima, blindfolded and handcuffed. Trump posted the photo himself, showing the dictator in a gray sweatsuit, looking nothing like the strong man who'd ruled Venezuela for over a decade. U.S. jets hit military targets across northern Venezuela, taking out air defense systems and military bases. Venezuelan Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez admitted that most of Maduro's security team was killed during the raid. And now, Venezuelan military commanders are in full panic mode because something doesn't add up. Maduro was captured inside one of the country's most fortified military bases, yet there was almost no resistance. The Venezuelan armed forces put up barely any fight against the American raid.
Demand the immediate release of the constitutional president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. We demand his release.
Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez and Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello both rushed to condemn the U.S. strike, but their statements rang hollow. Where were they when American helicopters were flying into their most secure facility? Colombia's former Vice President Francisco Santos said he's absolutely certain that Maduro was handed over without a fight. They didn't remove him. They handed him over. The Venezuelan Supreme Court quickly appointed Delcy Rodriguez as acting president. The military recognized her authority within hours. Everything moved too smoothly for a sudden regime change. These generals have a choice now: work with Trump's administration and possibly keep their positions, or end up like Maduro, facing narco-terrorism charges in a New York courtroom.
Donald Trump has issued a warning to the new leader of Venezuela, saying in an interview that if she doesn't do what's right, she's going to pay a very big price, probably bigger than Maduro.
They were waiting for us. They knew we had many ships out in the sea. We're just sort of waiting. They knew we were coming.
And here's where the story takes a turn. The media is barely touching, because before you can understand who betrayed Maduro, you have to understand who was really protecting him. Venezuela didn't guard its own dictator. Cuba did. If someone sold Maduro out, they didn't just bypass Venezuelan generals, they had to get past Havana's intelligence machine first. Which is why, along with the Venezuelan military, 32 Cuban intelligence agents also died trying to protect Maduro. These were elite operatives from Cuba's feared Secret Service, the same people who'd kept the Castro regime in power for decades.
You know, a lot of Cubans were killed yesterday. You know that. A lot of Cubans were killed.
Do you know how many?
The bodyguards. No, they're looking, but there was a lot of death on the other side. No death on our side.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio revealed the truth that mainstream media ignored for years. Maduro wasn't protected by Venezuelans. Cubans ran his entire security operation. Cuba declared 2 days of national mourning. President Miguel Diaz-Canel held rallies in Havana, waving Venezuelan flags and calling the U.S. strike state terrorism.
This was an act of war by the United States, with no doubt. I don't think this is different from an act of war. I mean, I think this was clearly a violation of the UN Charter.
But the truth is simple. Cuba failed. After decades of sending intelligence agents to prop up Venezuela's socialist regime, they couldn't stop one American operation. For over 2 decades, Cuba ran Venezuela's security apparatus like a protection racket. In exchange for 100,000 barrels of oil per day, Cuban agents embedded themselves in every corner of Maduro's government.
The Cubans need to go, and they need to go now. And if I was a Cuban intelligence officer watching what happened to Maduro, I'd be looking for a one-way ticket back to Havana or to Managua or to Moscow.
They controlled Venezuela's spy agency, SEBIN. They ran the military counterintelligence unit, DGCIM. They monitored ports, airports, and even Venezuela's national ID system. Cuban agents decided who to trust, who to spy on, and who to eliminate.
Maduro's vice president that she's going to cooperate with Trump, and there's no place in Venezuela for the Cubans. They've ruined that country, and they need to get out.
A 2008 agreement between Havana and Caracas gave Cuban advisors oversight of Venezuelan military intelligence. They trained officers. They built surveillance systems. They created an entire network designed to keep Maduro in power by hunting down anyone who might betray him. But Cuban intelligence made a fatal mistake. They got comfortable. They believed Trump was bluffing. Just like every other American president who'd threatened Cuba for 60 years, Cuban spies study military patterns. They track U.S. movements. But they had no idea how Delta Force operates. These Tier 1 operators are invisible until it's too late. Military experts say Cuban intelligence was probably tracking regular special forces in the Caribbean. They saw boats being stopped. They saw oil tankers intercepted. What they didn't see was Delta Force already on the ground. The Americans launched cyber attacks that cut electricity across Caracas. They shut down communications. They destroyed radar systems and air defenses. By the time Cuban agents realized what was happening, Delta Force helicopters were already landing.
Late last night and early today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela. It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice.
Trump confirmed there were no American casualties. 7 service members were injured. 5 were already back on duty. Meanwhile, 32 Cubans died, along with dozens of Venezuelan security personnel.
That Cuba is ready to fall. You know?
Yes.
Cuba looks like it's ready to fall. I don't know if they're going to hold out.
Was there a final
But
straw?
Cuba now has no income. They got all of their income from Venezuela.
According to reports, the CIA had a spy inside Maduro's government.
The CIA sent a small undercover unit into the country. Their job was not to fight, but to watch, to map President Nicolas Maduro's daily life.
Someone close enough to track his every move for months. They knew where he slept, what he ate, what he wore, even details about his pets. Starting in August 2025, a CIA team secretly entered Venezuela. They built a complete picture of Maduro's life.
Inside the compound, the Army's elite Delta Force team moving in. They had built an exact replica of Maduro's compound and practiced the raid for months.
Trump gave Maduro one last chance. In a phone call 1 week before the strike, Trump told him directly that he had to surrender. Maduro came close to accepting, but he gambled, he stayed, and he lost everything. Now the real question, who was the CIA's source? All signs point to Maduro's inner circle, and the most likely suspect? Delcy Rodriguez, his vice president, the woman who's now interim president of Venezuela.
She was foreign minister at the time and was really the point of contact for American media, American investors, and anyone from outside Venezuela who was interested in the country at a time of deep, deep economic pain.
Rodriguez appeared on TV after Maduro's capture, demanding his release. But then Trump revealed something stunning. Secretary of State Marco Rubio had already spoken with her. She told him she'd do whatever is necessary. Rodriguez wasn't in Venezuela when the strike happened. She was in Russia. Perfect alibi, perfect timing. Let's cut through the noise. This operation wasn't only about catching a drug trafficker, it's about oil, lots of it.
We have 20 times the production of Venezuela, 20 times the impact of human betterment, massively better quality of living here in the United States. That was at risk under the last administration.
Venezuela sits on 303 billion barrels of proven oil reserves. That's the largest in the world. More than Saudi Arabia, more than anyone, Trump didn't hide his intentions. Hours after Maduro's capture, he announced that American oil companies would invest billions to rebuild Venezuela's infrastructure.
They took all of our property. It was our property. We built it. And we never had a president that decided to do anything about it. Instead, they fought wars that were 10,000 miles away. We built Venezuela oil industry with American talent, drive, and skill, and the socialist regime stole it from us during those previous administrations, and they stole it through force.
The Department of Energy announced they're already marketing Venezuelan oil on global markets. All proceeds go into U.S.-controlled accounts. Venezuela agreed to hand over 30 to 50 million barrels immediately. Trump's team is planning a meeting with executives from Exxon, ConocoPhillips, and Chevron. Energy Secretary Chris Wright says they can get production ramped up fast. The goal is to turn Venezuela into a major U.S. energy partner and drive down gas prices at home. But these oil companies got burned before. Venezuela nationalized their assets under Hugo Chavez. They lost billions. Now Trump's promising U.S. military protection for their investments.
Donald Trump posted on Truth Social Sunday saying the U.S. is cutting off Cuba's supply of Venezuelan oil. He goes on to say, quote, "There will be no more oil or money going to Cuba. Zero."
The world is watching to see if this becomes another success story or another long-term occupation. Venezuela shares a hemisphere with America. Its oil can actually flow to U.S. refineries, and Trump's making it clear this is about American interests, not nation building. America just showed the world what happens when you traffic drugs into our country and threaten our hemisphere. Maduro's in a cell, his regime's collapsing, and Venezuela's oil is coming back under American influence. The socialist experiment is over. The question now, who's next on Trump's list? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and keep watching for more breaking coverage on Trump's moves in Venezuela and what comes next for the region.